In this video, I will show you how to assemble this rounded heart box, which is an SVG file from Simply Crafty SVGs. Also, you can make a simpler version of the box by simply omitting some panels. So this is a box I'm going to show you how to make. This is a simplified box. There's a little bit more to it for the final, just the regular one, but I wanted to show alternatives as well. So just to give you an idea of the shape of the box. So this is the rounded heart box, which I designed many years ago in 2017. So I've redesigned it to make it a little bit better. I always liked the box, but things were a little bit off. So we redesigned it, and now we're getting a video tutorial for it. So let's go ahead and start. So we have these little panels here. We'll put those aside. It's fairly simple to make, and again, you don't have to do all of them. You could just do one panel on top like I showed you. But we have two little things. So we're going to start with the box, two little sets. One for the lid and a set for the box. So we'll start with the box, and I am using American Crafts textured cardstock. And today, Barely Art glue. So I want to go ahead and fold these, and at one point you do want to fold the one where it has the smallest area right here. So you see where the tab is here. This tab, that's the big one. We want to leave it as a mountain fold, but the one next to the small section, we want to go ahead and make it a valley fold. So that means we're going to fold it down to help train it, and then fold it up, and then go ahead and fold like that to get a nice sharp, because that's where the top of the heart box will be. So we want that to fold back like that. So once we do that, we can go ahead and glue these together. I'm going to add a little glue to this tab. We're going to go ahead and line this up right there. So you want to go ahead and line this edge up to the inside fold. And once we have that together, we can go ahead and we're going to put the other side, glue the other tab. And then we'll go ahead and add the bottom panels. So go ahead on this, after you go ahead and line this edge up to the tab fold, right there, like that. And you can see a heart's taking shape. Like that. So now we're going to just glue on we're going to go ahead and fold those inwards and glue in the panel. So this is the top, so you want to make sure you know what part's the top. So wherever you just glued the tab, so you can find the tab right there, we're just going to fold it like that. And this will help us place it. So this is a textured cardstock, so I'm going to glue the non-textured side. We're going to add glue to these tabs here. So I'm going to do 4, but you could only do the 2 if you wanted to. So the 2 on either side of the little point here. We're going to go ahead and push that point in there. Can you see that? Right here, and just pushing that in. So I can get those first 2 tabs on the left and right of that point attached. And then I'll go ahead and apply pressure right there. And then the other one. So it'll give us set in place to have the panel anchored. And then we'll go ahead and continue gluing it. So I'm just going to do one side at a time. So this is a fairly simple 3D box if you're beginning with 3D. And other than a square box, obviously. The lid's a little bit more complex. So I just did those, and I'm going to go fold them over gently. And then flip it over, and I'll start where I glued the last tab. And then I'm going to push in as I go around and push down at the same time. So the edge lines up to the tab fold. And then we'll do the other side. So this way it just makes it easier rather than just having, I know it's an extra panel, but this way we'll have the second panel that will hide the tabs. I'm going to start here. We're just going to go around. So this is where we last glued, right, in this tab, and then we'll go around, push in, rotate as we're pushing in to make sure that edge goes into the tab fold until they're all glued. And so you can see on the back. And if you need to apply more pressure, you can go ahead and flip it over again. Then for this, we'll just go ahead and add this back panel. Oops. To hide the tabs. So go ahead and line that up, and then that'll hide the tabs on the bottom and clean it up. Just get it set in place, then you can just go ahead and flip it over and apply pressure. And next we'll go ahead and put together the lid, which is a little bit more complex. So now we'll go ahead and make the lid. So we want to fold these. And the other thing, just make sure, so you can see that's the top right there, the top of the heart. So this tab we need to fold in a valley fold. So just gonna gently pull it up here. And if you do use the perforated lines to cut it, it's better than the solid lines for at least Cricut. So for 3D items like this, it shapes better. And then you want to get these pieces situated so the small piece is the first piece at the top. So the large piece is at the bottom, and then small pieces at the top. So this little tab next to the small piece, we want to go ahead and do a valley fold. So fold it back. Use my handy dandy bone folder, like that. So the first thing we want to go ahead and do is the straight one piece. So I'm going to just move that up like that. So you go ahead and glue these together. It doesn't matter which side is which, obviously. It's the same. Just as long as there's only one way to well, actually, yeah, there's only one way to glue it. So you can't get confused, even if you did the other side. So the other tab on the other end is a mountain fold. So you can see just folding it like that, just making sure it folds up well like that. So this is the edge of the lid, the bottom edge. And then you want to, we can go ahead and do this. We'll just leave it like that. We'll put that on that second, actually. I had to think about it for a second there. So here, let's do this one. And the reason we're doing this one first is because the curve, and then it'll be easier for us to follow along here. I did it on purpose, but I had to think about it. So again, we want to go ahead and just glue these two pieces together. Like this. So make sure you have them folded really well before you do this, as mine is. So I'm just making sure this is seated in to the little fold as much as I can, because it's a pretty engineered shape. You want to get it as accurate as possible. It's simple, but it's engineered. So this we're going to glue under. We're going to go ahead and add glue there. So be careful with the glue because you don't want it, there's no panels here, so we don't want to get that glue on that. So I have a little damp paper towel that I placed somewhere that I forgot. Let's see if I can find it. Here we go. So if you have a little leakage, just a little paper towel. So make sure that's good and dried up before you go to the next step because you want to pull it apart. So you need to know how long your glue takes to dry. So you can see that's going to go like that. So we're going to take this, and this is going to go down here. So we can start here. I'm going to go ahead and put glue on either side. You could just do one side if you wanted, but I'm going to do both sides. And this enables us to fold it inward really well, like that, to get it set in place. So I'm going to reach in, get this little fold as close to that as possible. And then I'm kind of pushing it into as I line it up. So I'm just lining this edge up to that fold, and the same thing on this side. Get it nice and anchored. So we have it all anchored on each side. And I'm just going to do one side at a time. I'm just going to flip it around. So make sure it's comfortable in your hand. I always say that's the biggest thing. And I'll just do a couple at a time. I'm going to be careful with how I put my glue on so it's not too close to the edge because the glue could leak through and be visible. And we don't want that. So as you go around, these are the steps. Just want to go tab by tab, so be careful. I kind of lift it up with my finger back here, so it's not on the next tab until I get the first tab. But you want to go in order and kind of pull it taut too as you do it, because if you didn't get it right, these little folds won't line up as well as they should. So one by one, and you could always use your finger to make sure that they're lined up well. So if this is super raised, I can tell if it's more raised than that fold right there. And then we'll do the final two. So that's the steps. We're going to do the other side the same way. So there's nothing real different until the end. So I'll glue the other tabs on after this. That'll be sped up a little bit, and then we'll show you how to just glue the little tab, this tab underneath. So when we get to this last tab, you want to go ahead and just scooch it down there. Make sure that goes underneath. Then we'll continue gluing it on. Then we're just going to flip it upside down and add glue to that tab. We can flip that back. Add glue to this tab. And glue it underneath. Like that. Essentially, we're almost done. So we have this piece. I'm just kind of holding this as I'm talking. This is going to go inside. So inside here. So we're going to flip this over. I'm going to put the texture side inside because this is just a piece to help glue that heart easily, just like we did the lower piece. You could put glue on all of them if you wanted to. It probably don't be as messy as I'm being. If you can do them all at once, that's great. If you can't, just do a couple at a time, and then you would have to flip it over and add glue to the tabs that you did not put glue on. But if you can get them all at once, it's gonna be pretty simple. Just double checking. So the way you want to do it, I'm just, like I said, I'm using textured paper, so I'm going to do the non-textured side because it glues better. I'm going to just line it up at this top part right here, and then get it down and just get all these edges into the inner folds here of all these areas. Whoops, I actually pushed that a little bit too hard. Hopefully that can't be seen from the outside. A little bit. But that should be covered by the panel in the front. And then we can go ahead and add the top pieces. So when it comes to the top pieces, this is the default that comes with the file. So we're going to put it up there like that. Remember, you could just use, if you don't want to use the others, you could just use this and this. There's a couple options with maybe like a pattern paper, or you could just use just this one with a different color. You could even emboss it. So just different ideas. Let's go ahead and layer these. So I'm going to layer all three. So the way you want to layer them is when you're putting them together like this, you're just going to want to make sure it kind of goes right to the edge of that shape where the openings are. So focus on the edges of those little cutouts, the scalloped cutout areas. So I'm going to start like this so I can see it better, because I want to get the rounds to line up there. That makes sense. What the bottom line is that you don't want to see any of the pink, or this is blush is the color, as less as possible, so you can see a little bit, because it can tell. So it can tell you it's lined up. It's okay if it's off a little bit, but that's the goal. And then for this top one, and it has, if you had the original file, it has been changed a little bit to make it easier to cut, and I think it looks a little bit better too. But it's the same kind of look, but it's a slightly different, but very similar. Didn't want to change the essence of what the file was originally, but with time and more designing, I understand a lot more now than I did before. Whoops, making sure. Tried not to get any glue on the other side. So I'm trying to do this as fast as possible so the glue doesn't dry. It's hard when it comes to these kind of designs. And I'm going to just kind of dot that lightly there. As lightly as I can get it, because I don't want the glue to show through when I'm putting it down. And you might even want to wait until it's a little tacky before you put it down, so that glue doesn't spread. So I'm going to make it start at the tip here, line it up best I can, and just drop it down slowly. So I can try to get it as close as possible in the first drop. I might just have to move that over just a smidgen. But I didn't have any glue showing through, so that's the whole goal. And there's the top. So now all we got to do is add it here. So let's go ahead and glue this on. So again, you want to kind of line this area. So this should be overhanging, but what we're going to do is see if we can see where the little tip up there is. We want it to kind of line up with that. So we're going to go like this. It's a little bit hard to see, but you can see it from the side. See right there. Let's see. Just as close as possible. And this little bottom piece too. Like that. So once you have it in place where you want it, let's go ahead and flip it over. Add some pressure. And there's only one, actually two more things that are, again, optional. But I didn't want to take it from the original file. But some people might not want to use it. Take that. So the last thing is this. So we have these little heart pieces right here. Let me get the two pieces. And they'll go towards the bottom. So you want it towards the bottom. And the reason is when you put the lid on, let me just go ahead and do that. So you can see why we're going so far down. And again, this box has been redesigned. Sizing is a little bit different, not much. But you see right there. So you want to go as far down as possible. Just pull it around. So if you don't want that, of course, you can just omit it. So let's go ahead and glue one on. And the other one will go on the same exact way, so I only need to really show you one. So I would just lightly put glue. And you might even just want to do like half of it at first. That's what I would do. Because you don't want, just in case it goes places you don't want it to go. So I have 4 hearts done, so I'll mentally remember that. I'm going to start down here as close to the bottom of the box as possible. I'm just going to go just a little bit of a, let's go right there. Just going to line it up. So I just have it, it's a little bit above the bottom of the edge of the box. This straight part's easy, and then we get into a bend. It's so thin that you can just bend it around. So I only went to the 4th heart, so we'll just go ahead and continue adding glue and flip it over. Just lightly adding little dots around. And if you have, you can use like a paintbrush too, if you had like a little glue or something. If you just want to do it lightly, or you can use your fingers. But if you use your fingers, make sure first you're not allergic to glue, and you wash your hands right after. So, and so it goes all the way there. I'm just making sure, kind of bending it manually as I go around those edges, because it's so thin, and then get that last one on. So I'm going to put that second one on. It'll finish off the box. And I'll show you the finished box. So here's the finished box, and you can see with the lid on. It comes off. There you go. It's a nice little Valentine's Day gift box. So that's it. And remember, we have 2 different versions. You can simplify it like this, and I just put a little piece of twine around it. Or you can make it as the original design, the full design like this. Lots of hearts going on this one. Or like I said, you can omit. So there's a lot of options here to make the box a little bit different. So if you were using it a couple years in a row, you could do it one way and then change it up a little way. That kind of thing. So I hope you enjoyed this project, and I thank you so much for watching.